Welcome to the HSA podcast. We got a little change of scenery today because we're introducing some new stuff. We have a lot of things moving and shaking. And on this episode of the podcast, we have a strength and conditioning coach, Cam Williams. He's coming on staff with us. And today we're just going to talk about who he is as a person, his life experiences, his playing experience, but also relate that how strength and conditioning, prehab, taking care of your body can help elongate your life, your joy, your mobility, your happiness, but also it can help you on the court. So without further ado, Cam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
Tell us a little bit where you're from, where'd you go to high school, where'd you go to college, and how'd you get to here?
Yeah, I guess I'm technically an Army brat, so I moved around a ton growing up. I was born Fort Hood, Texas.
Okay.
Bounced around a lot when I was young, but I've grown up mostly here in Indy.
You ready for this?
What's that?
I'm an Air Force brat.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spain, Germany, Italy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I was all in the States.
Okay.
We moved around a lot, but I've never been out of the country ever, actually. But yeah, mostly my family's from Indy. I grew up in Indy. I graduated from Franklin Central High School. I actually went to a different high school all 4 years of high school, which made sports tough on me. I actually started off at Franklin Central. My freshman year, I moved to Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, my mom took a job to, elevate our lifestyle, essentially. She got a big opportunity, and we took off to Memphis. So I went to, shout out Memphis, learned a lot there about basketball, actually. That's where I picked up basketball as like my number one sport. Growing up, I played football, basketball, baseball. I grew up in Warren Township, so that's my connection with Justin. We've got some Warren background going on.
You Warren guys all...
We got to stick together.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So yeah, I moved to Memphis in the middle of my freshman year. I went to Germantown High School, the rest of my freshman year. Sophomore year, my mom got relocated a little bit, and I went to Collierville High School. Collierville, like a suburb of Memphis. So actually, yeah, that's what really got me into basketball at the time, because it's the one sport you can play when you don't know anybody, right? As long as you've got a goal and a ball, you can stay occupied for hours. So that's kind of where I turned myself into a basketball player a little more. Then I moved in. My dad lived in Lawrence Township, so I ended up moving in with him and went to Lawrence Central my junior year, and then went back to Franklin Central my senior year.
Do you feel like you're a little bit fake with the clicks because you claim Warren Central, but Franklin Central and Lawrence Central, and like, do you feel a little like you're just kind of shadowing a little of everybody, like you didn't earn it?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah, a little imposter syndrome going on. That's what people always ask me. Where'd you go to high school? And I'm like, this is kind of a complicated answer.
What year? What year you want to know?
Exactly.
So
right. Yeah.
You ended up at Franklin College. Is that what you said?
No. I graduated from Franklin Central. Was the only time I
Where'd you go to college?
I suppose. I went to IUPUI. I started at Ivy Tech. Kind of didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, which is fine.
Yeah.
Still not 100% certain,
I'm not either.
I started at Ivy Tech, just getting some general stuff knocked out. I've been into sports my whole life. So actually a couple injuries in basketball is what got me into the strength and conditioning side, what got me interested in exercise science and kinesiology. So I went to IUPUI for kinesiology.
Can we ask about that, or tell us about the injuries?
My injuries started with ankle-related things, a couple like reoccurring right ankle injuries when I was 17 to 20 range, a couple, like I said, reoccurring. So long story short, I found out the hard way that there is a process to rehab and, return to play protocol, and not just as soon as you heal, go right back to sport, right? It's not a good recipe. I can attest to that. So a lot of what I do is, saving people from going through what I went through, a lot of the trial and error on my own, because I was not a part of a team at the time. I didn't have guidance from, an athletic staff or athletic trainers or physical therapists or anything like that. I didn't have access to that stuff at the time, so I started doing some research on my own. Found a few things that worked for me. Knock on wood, I haven't had an ankle injury in 15 years or so.
It's a good track record.
Yes, yeah. I became very familiar with strengthening the ankles in particular. A couple like very severe sprains. I thought were breaks at the time, but first orthopedic surgeon I ever talked to about it, I'll never forget this, he asked me what my ankles felt like before this injury, my very first time getting hurt, and it was the first time that had ever occurred to me. I'm a young healthy adult. I've never considered what my ankles felt like before this. I just did,
yeah,
right? I
did.
just ran, I jumped, I cut.
A little stiff.
And then he also, I thought I had broken my ankles. It was the first time I got hurt was both of my ankles at the same time.
Was it a double cross?
I used to be a high flyer. I can show you guys some footage, of my glory days. But I attempted to dunk on somebody. He tripped behind me and kind of undercut me, and both of my ankles went. I tried to catch myself, and would have been better off just landing, sideways or something of that nature.
Dropping a landing.
But the orthopedic surgeon said to me, you actually didn't break a bone. You've just torn basically every possible ligament going on around the bones. He said, I wish you would have broken a bone, which I know now makes sense because bone is a lot more simple. It doesn't scar tissue. Once it heals, he said, we throw you in a boot for 6 months, that bone heals, it's good to go.
Did you do anything for your rehab to get back to athletics, or was it just you're out of a boot and go run, scamp, get out of here?
So that is why it was reoccurring. That after the first time I got hurt, it really was that. I did, I followed like the old Rice protocol, which is kind of a no-no now. We have found out through more evidence over time. Actually, the guy that created the Rice protocol, rest, ice, compression, elevation is what Rice stands for. The guy that invented that protocol has come out since and said, actually, this probably isn't the best way. Science changes and we've got to adjust our position. So that's what I did at the time, though. I this all day, every day, and then as soon as I didn't feel pain, I can go play basketball again, right?
So, and
it doesn't really work well.
I know you know this, but the people listening, I had my ACL done my sophomore year in high school. My knee was here. It just went like that in a football game, just tore it up. And when I woke up, my leg was stiff and in a cast. And I did that for 3 months.
Yeah.
And now, when you wake up, your knee is moving. Like as soon as you come out of anesthesia, your knee is already moving.
Yeah, we need to mobilize immediately.
And something I always feel for you guys is, you see guys that go through concussion protocol in the NFL. Well, they returned in 3 days. Halliburton's injury now, and even Jason Tatum. I mean, they've been injured 6 months, maybe 7 months,
something like that.
And now they're back. Tatum is playing, from the rumors I heard. You got Halliburton dunking. And people tear their stuff and go, oh, well, they've recovered in 7 months. I should be able to recover in 7 months. Like, they have a whole special doctor in a crew that you will never even touch.
Right,
on
an entire team, right? We're talking about athletes that are worth hundreds of millions, playing for organizations that are worth multi-billions. That's what they have at their disposal. Unfortunately, you high school players are just not the same, right? You're not in the same position. You don't have literally a team of people just trying to get your one injury better.
Here's a shameless plug, though. You could have a team if you came to the right people.
Exactly.
So,
that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
mitigation and return to play, that sort of thing. So there's been a lot of advancements recently in like accelerated return to play, but we've got to be really smart and intentional about that to come back in the right way. So it's allowed people like Tatum and Halliburton to accelerate. Even 5-10 years ago, we would say if somebody tore their Achilles, that's easy 1 year. Like, we know 12 months is baseline. And now, like you said, these guys are, getting close to cutting that time in half. Part of that is because of the research, right? Like advancements in science and in technology, especially, so that we can assess these things and address them in the right way. But they're getting round-the-clock treatment. They have dietitians and nutritionists. They have chefs that, just on that side. They've got all the best supplements you can imagine at their disposal constantly. They've got doctors on staff, where, the normal person, it would take a lot of time and money to address all of those avenues where NBA players are getting that addressed kind of all day, every day. So, we are hoping here to kind of bridge that gap a little bit, offer a piece of that service.
So this is this is not a hot take. I want to throw it out there for everyone that's going to be like, well, Paul and Cam at the HSA said this, but if you were in Halliburton's camp pre-injury, what are some things you could have done to possibly mitigate that and say, hey, this is not that big of a deal? Or, and again, I realize it's a loaded question because hindsight's always 20/20. There's going to be no hot takes of like, hey, this is what the trainer said, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, this has been a very hot topic in like the strength and conditioning world. A lot of coaches kind of coming at each other a little bit. So I don't like to do that to say, I saw a reel of Halliburton doing a training and this exercise is why he got hurt. It's we don't live life in a vacuum. There's several factors going on at all times, so it's really hard to pinpoint a thing. And I know some of the people that have worked with Halliburton and Tatum in particular, actually, and they're great strength and conditioning coaches, and I think they did everything they could to prepare those guys for the rigors of an NBA season, the 82-game plus season. But in general, I would say like strength and tissue prep kind of, right? We need you to get you strong enough and expose your tissues, if we're talking about Achilles in particular, exposing you to different ranges of motion at different forces and at basically every possible angle that you might ever come into like contact with on a basketball court.
Yeah.
That's usually how a macro injury like that happens, right? One big injury like an ACL tear or Achilles rupture, which are kind of our two big ones in basketball in particular, is that there was too much force at too great of an angle, right? A combination of those two factors. So the prep, off-season prep, preseason prep should be exposing you to all of those angles and forces that, like I said, you may come into contact with on the basketball court. That way you don't have to think about those things, first of all, in the middle of gameplay.
Yeah.
And two, that when, a force or angle is put upon you outside of your control, that it doesn't lead to a macro injury, right? That maybe nothing happens. Maybe it's a way less severe injury. We can do some things to sort of mitigate the risk or the severity of an injury when you would come into contact with something that might elicit an injury typically.
I'm going to warn you, this is an old basketball coach mindset that I have. And you can tell me I'm wrong. I don't claim to know everything unless I'm around my kids. Do you think that overplaying AAU, the grind mode of just 4 or 5 games on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday had anything to do with that in his older career? Or do you think like, Paul, he's in the pros, they know how to bring that down to a minimum effect?
I would agree with that sentiment.
Okay.
It's hard to say exactly what, how much volume over time really contributed to each individual injury. So I don't talk too definitively in those terms to say I know if they would have spent 2 less weekends at AAU, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But it is sort of a volume game there, right?
Yeah.
Where the more you put upon your body, the more likely, the more at risk you are. So I'm very much in your camp of like old school style where I get the struggle, where kids think I need AAU for exposure. I'm not going to be seen. I'm not going to get, and just like the fear of missing out. All these other kids in my age or my grade are at Best Choice on the weekend or at Teague's place. And, I don't have anything going on, but I really, and again, I'm biased, but yeah. I really would advocate for less of that, right?
I wouldn't say you're biased,
less gameplay and more just planning out your entire year from a macro view, right? And it's really hard to mitigate risk of injury and get better, right? Get better like at your sport and get better just athletically if all year is in season,
yeah.
Right? Like 12 months a year in season, it just is super high risk inherently, right?
Well,
So
I'm going to interrupt you on this point because your limit is not biased. Your limit is your opinion is professional. Like I have a biased opinion. I don't know what I'm talking about because I spent my whole life in education. Your opinion is professional because you've spent your entire life watching that. So I would push back and say it's not biased, it's opinion. But then on the other side though of like planning your whole life. I know when I finished the high school season, the last thing I wanted to do was pick up a basketball. I was sick of basketball. I actually picked up running. I started training for marathons at the end of the season because I just got so like, it maxes you out. You're physically, mentally, and like even your nervous system is on edge. And I tell people all the time, like, give your kid a month or two just to like put it away. Like,
yep, that's what I was gonna kind of piggyback on, and like, especially immediate end of season. Like, I almost encourage, don't think about basketball. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, have a week to a month of, you know, decompression from basketball, you know, the pressures of basketball. Let your body heal, pursue some, you know, do some weird thing. Like you said, run, you know, practice for a marathon, get into powerlifting. You know, if there's another sport you're passionate about, mess around with that a little bit, get some other movement qualities going on. You know, recovery modalities are especially important. It's like, yeah, lean into taking care of your body, recovering your body in that immediate postseason time frame.
Somebody said this the other day, and it kind of stuck with me, is we don't allow our kids to get bored. We don't allow our kids to just be bored. And I'm guilty of it too, like, always got to do something. And it's interesting because if you allow the kids to get bored, you kind of see what they actually love to do. And
Definitely.
You can see where their passions are. And you may find something else. I mean, basketball only works for what, 3% of the people?
Right.
Is high school to college, and then college to NBA is 0.08%.
0.0, yeah.
So you may find something that you never knew you wanted, or you wanted there. So shifting gears a little bit, what's your thoughts about the HSA? What are you most excited about, and how are you gonna introduce everybody to what you're building here?
Yeah, I'm really excited about doing this. We haven't gotten to it too deeply, but basketball is my favorite sport. I love it. I love spending as much time around it as possible. So like, I love coming here. I tell my wife when I get home, she sees it too. So I work full time at the Ursay YMCA downtown as a wellness director. So a lot of my stuff there is a little more administrative, right? A little more managerial and not as much hands-on. So, you know, my wife points out that I come home with a lot bigger smile from here than I do from the Y most of the times. And it's clear, yeah, this stuff just like really fills my cup up. You know, I love being here. I've seen, you know, the programs you run, and I believe in the stuff you do. So and obviously we've got a connection through Justin. He and I agree on a lot of things, training modality wise and training philosophy, I guess I should say.
Would you say Justin mentors you a little bit, or how is that relationship?
A little bit, yeah. We're, like I said, we're from the same place. We're the same age. We have close to the same experience in terms of like training age. But he got a little more into athletics, training for athletic performance earlier than I did, which is why I sought him out. You know, I saw that we had like some personal connections, and I sought him out to work with him and for him. You know, partially selfishly so that I could learn from him, and especially he's really good with technology, so that's another big one that again, I'm an older guy, so technology doesn't come super easy to me naturally, but it seems to work really well for him. He hops right into it, so that's mostly what I pick up from him is like how can we use the technology we have available to us to better serve our athletes and use more objective data. So that would be like kind of lead into my next point, is that I'm very big on data. So I like seeing data points. We need numbers. I need objective feedback. We'll use the subjective also of like, how do you feel? How hard was that to you? So I know how you felt about it. But we need some data to get some feedback. So that's what we do a lot with our like power and speed programming in particular, that we're gonna use some of the technology we have here to get some data points and use that to drive our training moving forward. So we have a general approach, a construct that, you know, like Justin and I knows works in general, and then once we get more and more used to you, we can kind of pare things down a little bit and make them more specific to each individual and what you need, since obviously all athletes and even all basketball players are not created equal. Their demands on the court are not equal. So yeah, we do start with kind of a general construct of these are the principles we know just work basically for all strength, speed, power performance enhancements. And then, yeah, the more you come, the better it's going to get, essentially. As long as you show up and work hard, we're going to learn you better and be able to kind of advance your training specific to you.
Well, I mean, and that's something that I've noticed in my training is I get a kid that comes in and says, hey, what do you want to work on today? I want to work on shooting. Okay. So you come in, you spend an hour with me, and then you go away and you never come back. Well, it didn't fix my shot right away. Nothing's going to fix your shot right away except the repetitions. And this is a conversation Justin and I and Ari have had about how long do you think you could take somebody from ground zero to they are whatever, they're an elite basketball player. And I tell people it's about 2 years.
I was going to say, it better end in something years,
yes.
right? It's not weeks or months. That's just not how it works.
And a lot of people show up and they think, oh, well, I worked out with Cam, I learned the perfect squat form, I got my plank, I got all this, okay, now I'm done. It's like, no, that's just the introduction. Like after I teach you how to handle the ball, how to move and everything like that, now we got to put all that in a large game concept.
Right, now we have a foundation. You got to keep doing it every day. I do have to explain that to people often is, you know, I'm up front about that. Usually, I mean, even Gen Pop clients I've worked with people from 8 years old to 88 years old, literally. And I have to explain to everybody, this is a lifestyle thing. If you want to see change out of this, it's not a 1 day, it's not a 1 week, it's not even a 1 month.
No.
Especially if you think the context of your life, 1 month is nothing. You're not going to get much done. You know, we can create a foundation and we can get some principles down and get you on the right track, but that is what it is. It's the start of a track, right? So, yeah, I usually tell people, you know, lock in with me for at least 90 days, right? We need at least a quarter of a year to even feel like we can honestly like make some significant noticeable progress. So if you think I came for a month and I don't really notice a ton of change, I would say, yeah, I expected that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're just setting this foundation. It's going to take months, years to get you to, you know, to find your, you know, reach your ceiling as an athlete.
It absolutely will. It absolutely will. And that's one of the biggest frustrations I have is, I'm going to open up with my little personal, I struggle with my diet. Like I really do. I'm not trying to be therapeutic on y'all, it's just a conversation. But like, I can't eat healthy for 1 day and be like, I lost all this weight. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. You have to eat healthy. You just can't eat a salad at dinner one time like, now I'm in shape. It takes a consistent, healthy regimen of everything you do.
Yeah, nutrition's a perfect example for a lot, because everybody eats. Everybody has to, you know, athlete or not. And it shows consistency because, you know, training, maybe you train 4 days a week or something like that. You're eating every day, multiple times a day. So you have to make a conscious decision for your health, you know, theoretically 3 times every day.
I mean, even this is a lot of people.
So I would say that's where, like you said, consistency matters more than like perfection, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Like I don't care how great you did. You could have 2 or 3 perfect days. I'd rather you have 2 or 3 years of, you know, getting a little better every day, or that sort of thing, right?
It's true. But here's something I struggle with. If I don't know your name, and I tell my trainers this, everyone on staff knows, if I don't know your name, I don't have the right to coach you. Like that is the bare minimum you need to have as a relationship, because if I'm correcting you, anybody could go to, how many times have we heard, well, Halliburton should have done this. Mathurin should have stayed. As what I call them, armchair quarterbacks, armchair MGs, you know, like, a bench, the bleacher coach, parents. Mm-hmm. It's easy to say, I should have done this, I should have done that. But for us, you have to build a deep relationship. You and I say personal stuff to kids. And I don't have the right to just come by and say, we'll fix this. And the first month you work with a kid, you're learning what makes them tick, that relationship. You got to get them to open up. You got to be able to be personal with them. Mm-hmm. And you also have to be able to say something where they respect you and they take it. And I always said rules without relationship lead to rebellion. So
I like that.
You have to have a relationship with people. And sometimes
I think there's another one of like, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, like.
And sometimes the first 90 days is just building that rapport with somebody. And for me, I always get annoyed because I'm finally digging into it. I finally broke through this wall, and then the parents pull and say, we're going over here. And I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, and the boredom thing you talked about is like very much, those two things I think are a part of kind of this like digital social media age. Again, like you see this other, somebody at your like level playing field is posting a story on Instagram, they're training at this place. Maybe I need to go there. Like, again, consistency, hopping from trainer to trainer is, just not a smart move for like full development of your game. If it's skills training or if your athleticism, if we're talking strength and conditioning, like this coach could be better or worse, who knows? But I think in the long run, sticking with a coach that knows you and cares about you and knows your background is going to get you a lot more in the long run than just, hey, this place looks cool, I need to switch over there next month.
Yeah.
They don't know you, and maybe they get to know you, but not if you're going to move in another month.
Yeah, and I talk to people when they come in, and Justin does really good job at this, but like when I sit down, I talk to somebody, who you're training with. Oh, we're training with this guy. Do we really like him? We love him. Then don't come to me. Unless you want to just come in and shoot, don't come to me, because what I'm going to do, and for example, your ankle mobility, you're going to take a progression of A, B, C, and that could be correct. However, there's another guy down the street that might go 1, 2, 3. Both of you guys are correct, but if you're doing ankles and you send that person home for a rest day and they sneak over and do 1, 2, 3, and then that rest day, you guys could be screwing up each other. You guys basically are cross-contaminated.
Definitely. I ask all my athletes too about, we do need to coordinate those kind of things, right? So I ask all athletes that come in for a session, what's your schedule right now? Did you have practice earlier today? Do you have a game tomorrow? Like, I need to know those things because every day matters. Again, we don't live life in a vacuum. Like, yeah, we could do one workout really hard for this 1 hour, but how does that benefit or not benefit you as a basketball player, right? The most important part is your performance on the court. So I can't make it about me and say, I just want to give you this really hard workout so you see my value. Like, no, I need to do what's right for you in your schedule in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, hopping around it's almost impossible to do that because I don't know if you trained with somebody yesterday in that case, or if you've been with somebody for a month, or if you're going, to the place down the street tomorrow, that sort of thing. And
it's good that you can, here at the HSA, that we can streamline all that of like,
exactly.
I can pop up here and be like,
streamlining is the way to go.
You can shoot. Yeah, you could get a medium workout, and even still, like when I was younger, I used to just punch people in the face. Just every day's a workout. I want you throwing up every single day. The older I get, the less throw up workouts I have, and the more I have of like, hey, we went really hard the first 2 days. Why don't we pull back on this? You got a game tomorrow? Okay, let's focus. And I think that the AAU culture has kind of put trainers in a situation where if you're just running those puke workouts every single day, you're going to hurt the kid. Like you could get something done in a half-speed workout, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I remember Justin, he was talking to me about some clients that he had that people weren't happy with him. Well, my son comes home, my daughter comes home, and they're not sweating, they're not sore, they're not throwing up. And Justin's like, yeah, I got to get them to hold I don't know, like this is just me, I'm getting them to hold a split squat properly without their leg collapsing.
Right.
So they're not going to be broken and sweaty. And sometimes you need those days of just building that block of getting it done right more so than getting it done and throwing up.
Definitely, yeah. Like again, back to the consistency. It's about the grand scheme, the big picture, and not just can we work as hard as possible today without considering the ramifications long term. So I think streamlining is the right word. I was about to use that word too. Like, we've got it all in-house in one place. You and I, right? Like now we can communicate. I know if an athlete that I'm working with on speed has a session with you later tonight, or if they just came from a session with you, or what their schedule is with you, with me, with their sport, with their coach this whole week.
Yeah.
So I think that goes a long way. It's a really like a complicated puzzle. We got to make it all fit together. It's not just all independent of each other. The point is performing on the court when it is your time to do that, and everything you do around that feeds into it, right? Either helps that or hurts that. I like to say that a lot about human performance and sports performance, or like, every day is kind of a chance to get 1% better or worse. We as humans are changing all the time. So if you take a day off, sometimes it's applicable, but right, like just giving yourself a day off for no reason, you didn't stay the same, you maybe got worse, right?
Yeah.
Like you didn't do anything to get better today. It's not same or better. The other option is worse. So we do need the full picture to make it all kind of coalesce into the best performance, you know, the most ready you can be to perform at your role when it is most important.
Well, it's interesting because you see the bodybuilders and you see them and they're in peak performance, their waists are like this. And for me, I remember as a little kid, my mom told me, she was like, hey, they don't walk around like that all day. 99% of the time, they're just bloated and yeah, they're big, but they're not six-packed out. And it's the same in basketball. You want to hit a peak at a certain point. Your job as a trainer and me as an encore, I want to get you here playoff time. That's the goal, playoff time.
Exactly.
And then after playoff time, you can take that dip again. But you can't live at this level your entire life, and that's part of the ebb and flow of things.
I think bodybuilding is a great example too, because they do that very much. You know, like they may do 1 or 2 bodybuilding shows a year, and you see them, you know, you see the pictures they post on stage day of, but you didn't see the last 6 months of, like you said, they don't get down to 10 or below body fat percentage until the week of the show.
Yeah.
So it's really,
it's
a
a
lot
science.
more long-term thing and building like really smartly one day at a time, so that, on the day it's time to perform, you're ready to go.
And I had a good friend of mine that was married to a bodybuilder, and she said the month leading to the performance was the worst month she's ever had in her life. Because it's emotional, you're a hot mess and you're hungry, and it's not like you can sustain that your entire life.
It's very tough. I mean, our bodies, our brains run off glucose, sugar, right? Food. So if you're actively cutting food out of your diet to a point that's almost extreme, which is what bodybuilding essentially is cutting to an extreme, you start to suffer, right? Like you have a lot of brain fog, you have low energy. Like that last month, especially last week, is terrible. And no good professional bodybuilder would suggest that you do that year round, right? That's not smart. That's not intelligent. It's detrimental for your health. It's going to be detrimental for your performance because you can't put on new muscle when you're that underfed, for example. That's a lot more goes into it long term than just what you see like on Instagram or TikTok or on the day of performance, right?
A lot of moving parts.
Definitely.
I got 2 more questions for you. The first one is, we looked at someone like, for me, I don't know if I can say this name here, but Tom Brady. He was amazing. He introduced a word to me called prehab, and he's doing all his work before he gets injured. And for me, I had my ACL torn. I went from dunking in 8th grade, tearing my ACL in my sophomore year in high school, to, I could get it every now and then, but I never got back to that, like, where I could. And I went back and looked at my rehab, and I'm like, oh, I just thought squatting 400 pounds was going to get me. I thought my bench press at 300 was going to get there, and I wasn't doing the little things. What are some things that you know about prehab? What can we do to get there, and what can we do to introduce prehab at a young age?
Yeah, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. Really, it's about like tissue exposure, right? We're trying to get your body ready for the demands of whatever your sport is, and more specifically your position within that sport, right? What you're asked to do on the court or field, for example. It's not so much traditional like powerlifting stuff all the time. We need variation, right? And we build this out, especially like that's off season is time for the strength coaches to shine, kind of, right? Like I get excited when it's end of basketball season, and I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna get some of these athletes for weeks at a time where I know they don't have a game, and we can really build this out in a smart way. So we progress it in a more intelligent way than I'm about to lay out, but the gist is that we need to expose you to every kind of thing, right? So we need full ranges of motion, right? So we usually start there. We need a lot of time under tension to start there to get you comfortable with good positions, get your form right? The time under tension thing in particular helps a lot with tendons, strengthening tendons, working on their like thickness and elasticity. And then we want to build onto strength, right? Now we want to get your muscles involved. So we might lessen the range of motion, so as we progress, for the sake of increasing weight. And then the last part would be kind of power and speed, which is really what we're into, right? Like that's the name of the game in athleticism. I'm not the first person to say this, but we like to say speed is the tide that raises all boats, right? It makes everything easier. If you are, I don't care your sport. If you're a swimmer, if you play polo, if you're a cricket player, you can always develop more power, and that will be beneficial, right? Increasing speed and power makes everything else you do easier, right? So if you can get faster, that's how, right? So now your old peak speed, you can hit that at 80% effort now, right? So just an example of a benefit of, speed being the tide that raises all boats. But yes, back to like the prehab thing.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little off
No, you're
track
good.
here.
Hit it. Preach. That's what we're here
It's
for.
just hitting on, like I said, full ranges of motion. Again, you touched on the powerlifting side of like deadlift, bench, squat. Those are good movement patterns, and we're going to train those things. Maybe we find out you're an athlete, you're a basketball player that has long limbs, and a traditional barbell back squat isn't appropriate for you. We can find a different way to load that pattern, right? So we're going to get you strong in that way. And then we need to do some stuff that's more applicable to sport, right? Not necessarily sport-specific training, but applicable just to being an athlete. So then we get into things like balance and stability, right? So that's doing a lot with our like intrinsic muscles. Again, hitting on like tendons and bone strength also that can kind of go by the wayside when we only focus on strength. We need to do a lot of unilateral work, right? Which would mean unilateral means one side at a time, right? Uni is one, lateral is side. So we need a lot of unilateral stuff, right? A lot of your sport, are you exactly 2 feet even all the time? No, rarely, if ever, right? You're on 1 foot a lot. So we need to train some 1 foot stuff, right? So it's mostly, especially when we talk about the off season, it's general prep of all these movements that you might run into when it is time to play your sport again. So we're going to get you familiar with those movements. We're going to get you strong in all of those movements, ranges of motion, planes of motion, right? We need up and down, we need front and back, we need side to side, we need rotational. So we're going to touch on all of those. And then we're going to get you, again, kind of bring them all together and get you like really powerful at all those things so that you're smooth, right? Like that's what helps on the court, is that you can, again, without a conscious thought of, oh, I need to get at this shin angle.
Yeah.
No, you just already have it, right? We need to get you the requisite range of motion, strength, and power to do all those things you need to do on the court.
I lied to you. I said I had 2 more questions. I have another 2 more questions. I slipped one more
Let's
when
do
you were
it.
talking. The next one is, okay, so I'm a freshman, sophomore in high school. I do my PE weightlifting course. And again, this is, I don't know, I could be wrong on this. I feel like a lot of those, at least from when I was in high school, 20 plus years ago, it was built for the football players. And so why should a basketball player go to a weightlifting course at a school and then come up here and do more weightlifting? Is that applicable? Is that something you would want? Or is that like, no, we don't want to touch you, you've already got your lifting in?
No, that's definitely applicable. Obviously the schedule matters. Like, are they doing that lift every day at school? So that's one thing to consider, because then we can sprinkle in some more like heavy lifting on days they're not lifting there. But also, again, that's where like the streamline stuff comes to effect, and the communication with your athletes, and knowing their schedule, knowing the other training they're doing, the other coaches they're seeing, that sort of thing. So there's definitely things we would do, right? We would basically just address the things you didn't address in class, right?
Yeah.
I think you're right, and that's still largely the case around the city from what I've seen, is that, it might be the head football coach that's running your weightlifting class, and they don't know who you are and what you're capable of. They just, they learned how to do a power clean, and everybody's going to learn how to do a power clean, which power cleans are great.
Yeah.
But there's other things we could do, maybe that bothers you, and this coach doesn't know that, but you got me, and I know that, so we can train you in a different way, right? We can find another way to develop power that's less risky, or just feels more comfortable to you. Or also we get into like exercise adherence, where I want you to enjoy the thing you're doing. So it could be as simple as like, I hate this exercise, can we find something else to do? And the answer is probably yes, right?
Yeah.
So, kind of to circle back there, we would just address the things you're not addressing in class, right? That's where it goes back to communication. I like to talk to athletes a lot, especially ones that I'm new to working with. What'd you do at school today? What'd you have to eat today? Did you eat something before the workout? You know, I kind of do it more casually, just a regular conversation with the kid, but it's me trying to pull a little bit of information out as they're kind of coming into the building and getting ready for the session we're about to do. I know I've got a general plan. I usually have a very specific plan, actually, but I'm prepared to tweak that plan dependent upon your answers to those questions, right? So you know, if I think we're gonna do some form of hip hinge today and you told me you maxed out on deadlifts at school, we're probably going to tweak that, right? You already did a hip hinge today, so we need to address a different movement pattern, or we need to get more into mobility. Maybe you're really sore from that lift you had yesterday and today. So there's always something else we could be doing, right? So I don't think inherently, I would say, just because you did a lift with the football coach at your school today, that there's nothing you could get out of coming into HSA and working with me or another coach.
What I heard you say, not all weight rooms are built equal.
That definitely.
There's
yes,
different.
Very true.
Last question, and then we're out of here, I promise, okay? You wake up tomorrow, you're the commissioner of basketball. You are, every basketball assistant in America has to report to you, and you can pass one rule for a day. What is that rule and why?
For all levels of basketball?
Yeah.
That's where my mind goes, actually, is that the gather step. I mean, are we doing it or are we not? Right? I mean, we've gotten to the point, it's fully ingrained in NBA. It has been for 15 plus years at this point, at least the interpretation of the, you know, the zero step, that sort of thing. FIBA's been doing it for a long time. It's naturally made its way into college and high school. I don't like to take a specific stance. I just want it to be the same. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I guess I would say, because I'm old, I hate the gather step. Every time I see it, or I try to do it myself, I feel like I'm traveling. It feels unnatural to me. To me, I do I do gather 1, 2, and in my head that's 1, 2, 3. I just traveled. So personally, not a big fan of the gather step, but I rather just some consistency, because then it's confusing for middle school, high school especially. I see it at the gym every single day, and I see kids argue about it every single day. No, that was a gather step. Well, what are the rules here today? Are we playing by high school rules? Because if you just said gather step, you just admitted to traveling at that point, right? So that's my off-the-cuff answer, I guess, is just consistency on this gather step. We need to know what a travel is and call it consistently.
Justin, they gave the same answer.
Did he?
Awesome.
Okay, we're on